Okay, I'm lucky enough to be at Gracetown on the 10th of April 2011 with my uncle David, his younger brother, my father Peter.
Okay, you now want to, this is a recording to discuss what we had at 47 Leon Road, is it?
This is a recording to work out, to show my grandkids what my father and uncle ate in 1948. Let's just take a random. So there'll be a roast on Sunday.
Well, in the winter time we occasionally had soup. We might have had pea soup, which would be made with the ham bones or, ham hocks. We would have or a vegetable soup that would be made with a lamb shank and a variety of vegetables, onions, turnip, parsnip, carrot, etc. And then the main course would be some kind of meat, which was maybe lamb chops. Vegetables would be potatoes.
Was lamb and beef accessible?
Pardon?
Was lamb and beef very accessible?
Very accessible. During the war there was rationing, but the rationing was a bit of a farce in many ways. We never went short.
What about seafood? Was it easy to get seafood at the shop or not?
No, seafood. The only time we ever got seafood was when on a Sunday they might go down to the fisherman's jetty at Fremantle and buy some seafood. I don't recall them going to fish shops and buying fish.
And what about Mr. Folks with the cobblers?
We bought seafood from Mr. Folks, as Peter has mentioned. Mr. Folks lived on the waterfront below the house at 64 Jutland Parade, and he made his living. He had a licence to fish in the river, and eventually his son Gordon was the last one to have a commercial fishing licence in the Swan River. Anyway, Mr. Fuchs caught cobbler, and he'd ride his bicycle around Dalkeith and sell his cobbler. We actually had a nail on the veranda post at the back of the house where Dad would hook the cobbler and get a pair of pliers and pull the skin off the cobbler.
So you didn't buy cobbler fillets, you bought the whole fish?
Yeah.
Was buying fillets an option?
No. It was all or nothing.
So Dad, surely for us it's weird, you couldn't go down and buy a piece of snapper or some squid or it just wasn't in your family's...
No, well,
it is seafood that we had. As a young man, I used to go and get crabs out of the river.
And prawns. We got tiny little prawns.
It was a great Saturday night when 4 or 5 families went to the Swan River, and Dad, the guys used to drag the net, and the kids would sort out the jellyfish and the prawns, and then we'd cook the prawns up in a 4-gallon kerosene tank.
Yeah, you did that with us when we were kids, yeah.
Is that right?
4-gallon syrup.
Was that like a regular or a delicacy or?
Well, it happened more than once.
More than
it would be cold otherwise.
Alright, we're going to wind this up.
Tomato sauce, dead horse.
So David, what are we eating? What are we eating?
We are eating a meat pie.
Yep.
Which I bought a piece of topside and I've minced it, and I put turnip and onion in the mixture.
Yeah.
And this has actually been made with puff pastry, but ordinarily you'd use shortcut pastry to make it. And then the vegetable is leeks and bread sauce.
Yeah.
The bread sauce is made by chopping up a small onion, putting it in a saucepan, with mace and a clove and salt, and you boil it up and simmer it for 10 minutes. Then you strain off the milk that's absorbed the flavours of the onion, the mace, etc.
Yeah.
And you stir in a couple of tablespoons of breadcrumbs
Yeah.
and cayenne pepper and salt. And
Beautiful. It looks
and it's been put on top of leeks.
it looks delicious. All right, bon appetit.
So
Dad, would you call this early 50s Australian cuisine, or was it English sort of?
this would be English type food, I think.
Yeah, more English type.
Right.
But it was basic. But yeah, so I guess it'd be English type, James. David has an affinity with English cooking,
Yeah.
and so.
Nothing to brag about, is it?
Yeah, but Mum used to make most wonderful meat pies and things. After the Sunday roast on Monday, we had the leftover lamb or beef or whatever it was, and she'd make these pasties and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it was a dish that we were very fond of.
But Mum would sometimes make Cornish pasties with something just like this.
What was Gran's speciality?
Oh, I don't think she...
Apricot
She was
chicken?
just an overall good cook. And
Was apricot chicken on the cards early, or did that come in late? Apricot chicken was.
that's right.
I enjoyed that.
That came later.
Did it?
Yeah.
That was considered quite exotic, almost.
Well, she was prepared to innovate, and
Because a can of apricots and 2 chicken thighs is quite
that-
quite innovative.
I mean, she learned that from somebody else.
Yeah. Oh, and some French onion soup.
She had a book in which she hand wrote recipes from friends, and but she also innovated. She had to go with pavlova. She put coffee essence in the mixture, and then rum in the cream and burnt almonds on the top of the cream, and that was a very nice. That was her sort of invention. That was very nice.
Wow.
What it meant, the coffee essence somehow or other, the pavlova didn't rise as much as it might otherwise have, but it still rose a bit. But the taste was there.
David, was it safe to say that Gran became inventive in getting flavour to food because of Dad's sensitive tummy?
Well,
No, she was a risk taker.
Dad smoked, and I think smoking meant that
Smoke what?
food had to be highly flavoured for him to taste anything.
But I had the feeling that because of his being gassed in the war, that his tummy couldn't take certain things.
Well, I think it was more a question of likes and dislikes. He didn't like Irish stew because they had stews in the war. And yet, we did have Irish stew, and I loved Irish stew, and I think you did too. Irish stew would be...
But wasn't he, I mean, I know he never drank beer, did he? He only
He
drank
did
wine.
when I was young. He did drink beer.
Did he?
What would he drink, Dad? Hard liquor?
No,
Well,
wine.
he had whiskey.
Wine? Huh?
Whiskey.
So you come home and what? Have a
But
whiskey?
He was very keen on wine. He used to go up to Horton Vineyard
Jack Man.
and buy wine.
Did he smoke a pipe or cigarettes?
No,
Cigarettes.
the best cigarettes that were available. Turf, Craven A,
Craven A. I used to smoke
When I was
and Piccadilly.
12
Was
milligrams.
Piccadilly, David?
pre-war days was Piccadilly.
Okay, guys.
During the war, he went to all sorts of lengths to get American cigarettes. He
Okay.
used to smoke old gold.
All right then.